Hi, I'm Mrs. Kelly Rose, and I teach English language arts at Strongsville High School. And currently, I have 11 honors and 12th grade. However, I have taught ninth, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade over the past 5 years at Strongsville. So I've pretty much had the range of the student body that's currently there. Um, so I'm supposed to talk about why I became a high school English teacher, what inspired me, and I want to tell a little story about my 11th grade AP English class. I had Miss Usher, and Miss Usher used to tell Usher stories where she would relate all of the literature that we were talking about to her life connections. Now, I have to explain a couple things about Miss Usher. She gave us at least 2 hours of homework every single night. So I would constantly go to school exhausted because I would be up till 1 or 2 in the morning trying to finish my homework and still be involved in extracurriculars and take dance lessons. But I always look forward to her class, not only for her Usher stories, but because she really made you realize your worth. We would be reading a book that's been analyzed for years, a piece of classic literature like The Scarlet Letter, Huckleberry Finn, The Great Gatsby, and you would contribute your idea, and maybe it wasn't a unique idea, but she would really make you feel like your ideas were valuable, and that really meant a lot to me. So fast forward a couple years, and I'm at Baldwin Wallace, I'm majoring in English, and I'm kind of conflicted about what I want to do with my life. I know I want to be a teacher. I know I want to work with people. So I like working with kids with special needs. I love English. I love literature. I love reading. I love writing. And I also love dancing. So I'm trying to think about what do I want to do for the rest of my life? Where do I feel like I'm going to make an impact? I'm not trying to make $1 million, but I want to do something that I'm going to love. So I really thought back to Miss Usher and how she made me realize my worth. And she did it with a sense of humor, and she did it through her Usher stories. So I thought pretty much my dream was I want to become the next Miss Usher. I hope I can make a difference in a kid's life and help them realize their worth. So that's really why I became an English teacher, because I felt like talking about literature lets you talk about life. And when you talk about life, you can talk about values. And when you talk about values, it helps you realize your worth. So that's why I became a high school English teacher. Now I'm supposed to talk about a brief story about some kids that have changed my life or some standout stories. And I'm not looking for a story where I changed a kid's life and he's going to Harvard now. I want to talk about 3 students that stand out to me because I feel like they've taught me a lot, and they're just all around good kids. And I've known them since they were freshmen, and I know what they're going to do next year in college. So I want to give each of them 30 seconds. These students are Matt Danish, Amy Pennell, and Melissa Wilson. The 3 of them are my student aides, and I had them all when they were freshmen in my English class. So I'm going to start with Matt Danish, because Matt Danish has shown me how important it is to set personal goals and achieve these personal goals. And I just think back to when Matt was a freshman, and he was the type of kid that would throw you a bone when you're trying to have a class discussion and nobody's talking, and he would raise his hand, and he didn't even care if he was right or wrong. He just felt bad that you were standing up there and nobody was responding. And he was the type of kid you could tease him and joke around. But now that he's turned into a young adult, he's really shown me how setting these personal goals in his life and having this sense of humor has really made him successful. And I feel like there is no other career where I can interact with so many kids and learn these little lessons like what Matt Danish has shown me. Now I want to talk about Amy Pennell. Amy Pennell is one of those girls that shows you why you should be nice and thoughtful and how successful you will be by being nice and thoughtful. Amy approached me earlier this year to write her a letter of recommendation for a scholarship that she was hoping to achieve. And all I kept thinking about when I'm talking about Amy, I kept thinking about if I have a daughter and my daughter is like Amy, I would be so happy because she's kind and she's thoughtful. And how can you not be successful if you with those things? You're going to be successful. So I actually kind of tried to form this letter of recommendation around how I would hope that someday when I have kids, I have a daughter like Amy because she's so kind and thoughtful. She's the type of kid that makes you rethink what you think about teenagers. She isn't in the mean girl cliques. She doesn't even care about cliques. She's nice to the new kids. She's nice to the odd kids. She's nice to the really smart kids, to the not so smart kids. She's just a nice person. And that means so much. That means so much to me. And then finally, I want to talk about Melissa Wilson. Melissa Wilson is one of those girls that is so modest, and she doesn't even realize how valuable she is. Melissa wants to spend the rest of her life working with kids with special needs. And as somebody who thought about becoming a teacher for kids with special needs and realizing how challenging it would be, Melissa has no idea how great of a person she is. And she's one of those kids that taught me why it's important to be modest, but also it's important to just care. It's important to care about kids that might not get everything that they need, and she can provide that. And she gives me hope for public education. She gives me hope for that kids who need a little bit more of a backbone or need a helping hand, that there are always going to be people out there to help them. And I feel like Melissa is the perfect candidate for that. So I'm so happy that I've been able to be exposed to Matt Danish, Amy Pennell, and Melissa Wilson through these years, because they've taught me how important it is to be a teacher and inspire these kids, but also they've inspired me in turn. So finally, I want to talk about my hope for Strongsville schools and the future Strongsville students, the current Strongsville students. And my best way to express this is by talking about when I first got hired at Strongsville High School. I was so excited. I was so excited to be working for Strongsville City Schools. I had heard great things. So the first week of school, we're setting up our classrooms. I'm getting to know all these new teachers. And then slowly the kids start trickling in. And I just remember standing back for a moment and watching these kids hug their teachers and say how they missed them over the summer, and how, remember when it was funny when this happened, and remember how you did this for me, and remember when we talked about this in class. And I just remember like my heart stopping and thinking, this is the place where I want to be, because these kids love their teachers and their teachers love them. And this is the kind of relationship, when I think back to my relationship with Miss Usher, this is the kind of relationship that shaped me to the person that I have become. And that's what I hope for Strongsville schools. I hope that kids know that they can still rely on their teachers and give them a hug and say, thank you for doing this. But in turn, the kids still teach the teachers about becoming better people. So that's what I hope for Strongsville schools. Thanks.